from SiriusXM Studios in Los Angeles, California. This is Volume West with Lyndsey Parker.
Welcome back. As now, I'm joined by Shelly Peiken. A little bit of trivia for you next time you do your pub quiz. If you want to know what the number one song was when this millennium started, the number one song in January 1st, 2000 was What a Girl Wants by Christina Aguilera, written by our guest, Shelly Parker.
That's me.
You made history, millennial history forever.
I wasn't even trying.
You know, sometimes it just is meant to be.
Stars collide.
So I was mentioning that it's Women's Month, International Women's Month right now, and International Women's Day is on Sunday. So it seemed like leading into the weekend, you were the perfect guest because you not only wrote that song, but you also wrote a lot of other feminist anthems, like Bitch by Meredith Brooks.
Yeah.
And, actually, I only just found out that you wrote Who You Are by Jessie J, which is a real, or co-wrote, and a really big one. So I want to talk to you about some of the songs which you are revisiting in your own singing voice now on an upcoming album called 2.0.
2.0, etc.
So before
I'm doing like 5 covers of my songs, and then 5 or 6 songs that no one's ever heard before. So that's the etc.
Which are the 5 that are like huge hits that you've done that you're going to do?
What a Girl Wants, Bitch, Human on the Inside, which the Pretenders cut.
And the Divinals too.
And the Divinals too. Thank you for knowing that. Almost Doesn't Count, which was Brandy Norwood and Mark Wills. And Who You Are. Did I say that already?
The Jessie J song.
The Jessie J song.
Oh, very, very cool. Yeah. What made you, before we get into little stories behind some of those specific songs, what made you at this point in your career want to do an album on your own and, you know, reinterpret? I don't even know if you call it reinterpreting the songs because they're your songs, but doing the songs in your own singing voice.
Well, I am reinterpreting the iconic image of them, right? Because these artists I'm very grateful for, and they put them out there and made them what they are and how people know them. So I do think of it as reimagining them.
Okay.
What made me do it is when I first started out out of college, I just thought, when I discovered Bleecker Street and the singer-songwriting culture and everybody was doing it, I thought, well, that's what I want to do. It wasn't so easy though. It wasn't as easy as I thought. I didn't get a record deal. I was in a band. And
so did you want to be a performer first and then the writing came along?
You know, I was writing since I was a little kid, but I didn't realize, I'm writing songs, I'm being a songwriter. I just thought I'm being musical. This is my passion. I love pop songs. I got sheet music. I tried to write my own, follow their chord progressions on the sheet music. But I just thought that every song I heard on the radio was written by whoever sang it.
I think I thought that when I was a kid too.
And, you know, when I was growing up, when I was little, there was no YouTube. I didn't know any other songwriters until like after college. I came to New York and I met all these songwriters. Like, oh my God, this is what I want to do. But when I didn't get the record deal, what happened instead was that A&R people started to come to see this little band I put together, and they might not assign me, but they wanted to cut my song with their artist. And I thought, you know, this is a good road. I was living in New York City. I love New York City. I love coming home to my apartment and my cat every night. The thought of touring and going all over the world was exciting, but it wasn't something I had to do. So this was a really good road. And it was a time when physical copies of albums were selling. So with every physical copy that sold, if you had a song on it, it didn't have to be a big fat radio hit. It was just an album cut. You could make a decent living as a songwriter. So it was fine for many years. And it worked for a very long time. And when the digital ecosystem came along, it was harder to make a living off of the album because you had to have a big hit. And
it became more tractor then.
Right. And technology made it such that you didn't have to necessarily be a musician to be a songwriter. A lot of things were being programmed, and there were top liners, and there were a lot more people in the room. It became a lot harder to make a living. I've been very lucky because there are like 3 songs that I've written that still support me. I don't know how young songwriters are doing it now. They have to have a second job. But
they tend to be, sorry to interrupt, but have you noticed the phenomenon that, you know, when I look at your co-writing credits, it's like you and one other person,
right?
Not you and 11 other people.
Right. It was a more intimate experience,
and you get a bigger piece of whatever royalties there are when it's 2 people, not you know 12.
And you know, when you see 2 people on song after song after song, you know that they really made a generous contribution, and you know that they've got the goods. it's a little trickier now, and because there are so many more songwriters, there are less opportunities. It's like musical chairs. You want to sit in one, but so do 10,000 other songwriters.
Mm-hmm.
So I started writing about how the business had changed. This was a few years ago, which turned into a book called Confessions of a Serial Songwriter, and I did I narrated the book, and that didn't win. It won a nomination
For a Grammy?
for an audiobook, best audiobook.
Oh, nice.
And it just feels like a win when you get a nomination. It feels like a win. And then I thought, well, I toured a little bit with that book, and I went to schools and I tried to educate young people what they need to do to register their songs and make a living, and how they could fight getting a bigger share of digital. But I still wanted to be creative, and I just didn't know if I was going to get in all these rooms with Adele or Rihanna. And I thought, let me go back to that original thing I wanted to do. There's still time. And you don't have to have a label anymore. You could sign yourself and make your record. Kristen Jewell is helping me, and Nicole Polis is helping me. I've got a good team behind me with great guidance. And that's what I'm doing. And I finally feel like I'm having so much fun again.